Hi everybody, welcome to Stationeers. So you're new to the game and you've had a bit of a play and you're struggling. Like, what the hell am I doing on this game? It's pretty hardcore, and you would be right. I am doing this series of videos because I saw a Discord comment, I saw a review of the game come through, basically saying that the game is hardcore and there's very little information out there, and that some of the YouTubers that are out there making videos are a little bit all over the place. Welcome to Stationeers. That is what this game is. It's never clean cut. You're never going to know exactly what you should be doing. You just have to understand the basics of the game so that you can get to wherever you need. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a playthrough, and I'm going to kind of go through the basics. I'm going to try not to be condescending, but I'm probably going to come across as condescending because that's what happens. Ask my wife, she hates me. So, from the main menu, we're gonna start a new world, okay? And if you're new to the game, you're probably going to be questioning which world to go on. For a new starter, I highly recommend Mars. Okay, the Vulcan, asteroid belt, and Venus, don't even humor the idea. If you're new to the game, you're just not going to enjoy it at all. The moon is questionably one of the easy ones, or it used to be until a relatively, well, an old update now, I guess, the phase change update. I would say for cooling, Mars is easy. Power generation, Mars is easy. So we're kind of going to jump into Mars. On the right hand side, I'm not going to go through these. I'm not clever enough to explain everything to you. Let's just jump into the game. Let me show you the basics and let's see if we can get a base built and kind of explain what we're doing as we go through. So we've got Mars selected. We're going to go next. And because it's our first time playing, we're going to go easy. Okay. The main benefit to going easy is that you can eat and drink without opening your helmet. Okay, which is a massive benefit. Okay, when you play easy, you will start taking it for granted. But God, if you when you first play normally, you can't do that. It will cause panic. Okay, but first time playing, we're gonna go easy. We're gonna call this tutorial playthrough. That is not how you say tutorial. You know what? Screw it. Let's keep that as tutorial. Tutorial playthrough. We're going to go for the standard start. Okay. Here gives you a list of everything you start with, but we're going to navigate through those in game. So I'm not going to go through all those now. We're just going to start the game. So when you're first starting, you're kind of landing in your pod. And in a second, it should go pop. There we go. Welcome to Mars. So, for those of you new to the game, I'm going to go through the interface and the inventory because I think it's important to know how they work pretty early on in the game. On the right hand side, you have your stats. Okay, so the ones above your character are everything internal to your suit. So you've got your internal pressure, your internal temperature, and your jetpack pressure. Okay. To the left of your character, you've got your external pressure. So this is Mars. This is external to our suit. So 2 kilopascal, 1 degree Celsius, and the direction that we're facing. So currently we're at 6 degrees. Over here we're at 146. The number at the bottom is the speed at which your character is moving. Don't worry too much about that. It's not really important. And then to the left of those, you've got your vitals. You've got your hunger and you've got your hydration. The bottom of the screen, you've got your left hand, your right hand. This game doesn't have a standard toolbar that most people are used to. You only have 2 hands, which I think is quite a unique and quite an interesting concept. But yeah, you can press E to flick between the different hands. And yeah, if I grab something, so you can see here, I've got pipes. Whereas here, I've got duct tape. Can't really do that, but there you go. Look, I've got inline tank. To place an item like what you're seeing here, you press right click with that item in your hand, and that will give you this hologram, at which point you can kind of place an item using your left click. Okay, if I press E to switch hand, left click, There we go, we've placed a couple of items. What are those, I hear you ask? Don't worry about it right now. On the left side of your screen, you have a few slots. So you've got your helmet slot. Don't worry too much about what's in here. If you're new to the game, just leave it. You have your glasses slot, which you don't start with glasses, so it is irrelevant. You've got your suit slot, which gives you the oxygen that you have in your suit. So this is a canister that's in there. You've got a waste canister, your battery that is powering your suit, and then 3 filter slots. All of these filters are CO2 because as we breathe in oxygen, we exhale CO2 through the filters into the waste tank. All of these buttons here, I'm not going to go into because if you're new to the game, you don't need to touch anything here, especially if you're playing on Mars. Okay, just leave those. These are the only 6 things in here that you really care about. I'm going to close this for now. We have our jetpack or our backpack, where we have our canister for our jetpack, and then any items that we're currently carrying. I'm going to put my mining belt there because I'll be keeping my mining belt. Again, the buttons at the top, don't worry too much about them if you're new to the game. They don't really matter right now. You then have your uniform slot. So you start with a cereal bar and a bottle of water. There's also a credit card in there. This is used for trading later. We're not going to be getting into that for a couple of videos. But yeah, that's uniform. These are basically just pockets. And then the very bottom slot is your belt slot. You can either have your tool belt, which contains a variety of tools, or you can have your mining belt in that slot, which contains your mining belt and a pickaxe. My cursor, as you can see, is all over the screen, but I'm interacting with it. To do this, hold the Alt button on your keyboard. If I hold Alt, it frees up my mouse, and I can interact with the world like that. So if I want to, I can hold Alt, and I can drag items into my inventory. I can drag them back into the world. I can also chuck things on the floor. So if I hold Alt and just drag this on the floor. Let's drag that on the floor. Let's drag that on the floor. Or if I want to pick them back up, I can very easily Alt them, or I can just left click. If I want to move something quickly to my inventory, I can press G, and whichever hand I have selected, that item will be moved to your inventory's first available slot. But let's not clutter ourselves up. Let's chuck these on the floor for now. We don't need them. So when you first land, you land in a pod which contains water and food. Okay, remember that they're there. We're going to need them later. That's all that's in there. Depending on the world, you start with either 1 or multiple tanks just dotted around, so make sure you find them. On the Mars Easy, you'll start with a fuel tank, and then in your lander over here, you have a water tank and an oxygen tank. You also have various crates filled with goodies, which we are going to go through shortly. What is the aim of the game? Well, the aim of the game is to basically build a station to survive, okay? But you are building it from scratch. You are placing every pipe. You are placing every cable. Even the air you breathe, you have to decide what that's going to... Well, you're not going to decide what that has to be. That needs to be oxygen. But you can determine how much oxygen is in the atmosphere. You can decide on the temperature of your water, the temperature of your breathing atmosphere. You can build the base however you want. It is really, really complex. But if you stick with it, it's a really enjoyable game. I know a lot of people struggle with it. It's not your first person shooters, not your typical survival games. It is a hidden gem. And it's definitely worth your time if you like survival games. 100%. So, to get started, first thing I'm going to do is turn off my suit light by pressing L. Okay? Because your suit has battery power and your light on your suit is going to use a lot of power. During the day, you don't need it. Turn it off. For YouTube videos, I tend to have it on all the time because it's easier for the viewer, but I will try and leave it off as much as I can where I don't need it. So, we're going to start as any Stationeer starts. We're going to get our frames. I need my light on because I can't see. We're going to take some iron frames and we're going to take some iron sheets. Okay, turn my light off. Iron frames are a structure device. So if I put it into one of my hands and then I right click, I get this little hologram. And I can hold left click to place it. And we're going to use these as our floor for our base. So I always try and go for a 4x3 area. That'll give you enough room inside for your first, well, place. I'm then going to place frames above me, but I'm going to leave a 1 block gap. So I'm going to do the same up here. I'm going to do a 3x4. And this is just because I'm going to want to place items on these frames in a second, and you can't always place items without a frame. So let's make our ceiling out of those, like so. So this will be our starting room. We have our ceiling, we have our floor. Now, what you'll notice is that I can't walk over these. These are not complete blocks. So I'm going to move these frames over to my inventory. Excuse me, I got hiccups. I want my tool belt, so I'm going to drag it over to there. And in here, I want my welding torch. Now, you've got a few tools. You've got your wrench, primarily used for pipes and removing sheeting. Your crowbar, used for like opening things or taking things apart. Your drill, used to like build things or dismantle electronic items. Wire cutters, self-explanatory. You've got your cable, which is also wire, used in conjunction with the wire cutters. Angle grinder, used to take down like frames and stuff. Screwdriver, used for like final build states on certain devices. And your welding torch. Don't worry too much about them. The game will tell you what you need and when. Okay. It's currently nighttime. I'm going to turn my light on. So, when you look at a item that is not finished, it will get the game will give you a tooltip telling you what is needed. If it needs a tool, it will tell you the tool, and then it will tell you that the item that you need in conjunction with that tool to go to the next build state. So as you can see on this one, we need the welding torch and we need an iron sheet to continue construction. The angle grinder is required to deconstruct. Well, I don't want to do that, so let's do a build state. With the welder in my left hand, and it could be in the right, it doesn't matter, and the iron sheet in my right, I'm going to right click to turn on my welding torch, and I'm going to hold left click, and I'm going to complete the build state for that frame. The little white particles that you get, so let me do the next one, okay, those represent air displacement. We'll be going through that later. If you see this though, don't worry, you're not having a panic attack. It's all part of the game. So I'm just going to weld these up fully. And as you'll see, I'm using 2 iron sheets per frame. The first build state is this, okay? And this allows me to walk on it. But that is not airtight. I can see through it. So that would not hold anything. Because the idea will be for us to have an internal base where we can walk through just in our pants, we want it to be completely airtight. So that is what I'm doing. I'm just going to completely weld it up. This won't take 2 seconds. Well, it'll take more than 2 seconds, and I could cut it, but I'm not going to do that. I think on this game, it's important to see everything that's happening. Okay, I could cut it left, right, and center, so you only see the important parts, but I want you to see that I'm not doing anything else other than what you're seeing. Okay, we're going to make this as in-depth as possible. I will try and detail every little thing. Can't guarantee it will come across very well, but meh, this is me. There we go. So we have kind of got our frames all welded, so we're all good on that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to my lander, and we have some kit walls. These aren't really important. I don't need to be doing this right now, but it's always good to have a plan. So if you can kind of build your room as what it's going to look like, you can then plan for space and all that kind of thing, rather than just placing stuff left, right, and center and then worrying about how it's going to fit inside of your structure. So I'm going to place some windows on either side, and to get to the windows, you have your kit wall, okay, and put them in your hand. Right click for the hologram, and then you can scroll through the different variants available in that kit. So as you can see, there are 4 different types of wall and a window. So I'm going to place windows either side, and then at both ends I'm just going to go for wall types. There's no reason to me doing it like this. This is just a personal preference, but do whatever you want. At the end, I'm going to place 3 walls, and I'm going to leave a gap at the front. And that's going to be our way in and out. We're going to have to build an airlock. But that comes later. We don't need to worry about that. We've got all of our walls and windows up, but again, these are not complete. If I point at it with my iron sheets, you can see I need to continue the construction. If I hold left click, we can build. Oh, these are windows, but you get the idea. It kind of goes to the next build state. Let me go and get some more iron sheets, and let's get this entire place built. What's important to note is that I'm not really rushing here. Like, I'm concentrating on the build of my base as opposed to like worrying about my survival stuff. You have plenty of time. Don't panic. Don't stress. Just chill. We're on easy. It's going to be fine. These walls are complete. As you can see, you can't see through them. They're going to be airtight. The windows, obviously, I've put the iron in, but I also need to put some glass in. So let's do that. Like so. There we go. So we have a box. Very nice box, but we have a box. Next thing is to start putting things in and on the box. Now, we are going to build an airlock, but that's going to come later. I'm not going to worry too much about that. So, to begin with, we're going to want to be able to make more items. And that is done via printers. So, when starting on the game, you start with a furnace and an autolathe. Your autolathe is your #1 printer. Without this, you cannot play the game. If you ever misplace this for whatever reason, you might be screwed. So I'm going to place my autolathe inside, and we're going to give it quite a lot of space in here. Let's be nice and roomy, nice and organized. I'm going to place my autolathe there, and then my furnace, I do not want to place this inside my base. We'll explain why later, but for now, just take my word for it. You want to put it outside. I'm going to take a frame, and let's put the furnace. It can go there. Why the hell not? We'll place our furnace on top of here like so. There we go. Furnace is used for processing ores. Printers are used for creating items using ingots that the furnace puts out. So I've got those 2 devices, but what you'll see is the autolathe doesn't really have much going for it. It's not been completed. We need a few items. Now, if you point at the autolathe, it will tell you what you need. Now, I know what I need, so I'm just going to grab them now, but then I'll show you the autolathe inside. So, if something looks unfinished, grab any tool and just point at it. You can see there, welding torch and iron sheet is required to continue construction. So, I'm going to get my welding torch, some iron sheets, turn on my torch, weld it. Make sure you turn off your welder when you are finished. Okay, it is ran on gas. It's a fuel, and it's not unlimited, so you don't want to be wasting it. So next, if we look at it with any tool other than what's required, you can see now we need 4 cable coils. I'm going to drag those into my hand. There's my 4 cable coils. Again, get a tool, and as you can see, it will require plastic sheets. So I'm going to swap my iron and my plastic. We're going to weld the autolathe. And then last but not least, it needs the screwdriver. That looks better. It now looks complete. This is ready to be used. Not quite. We don't have any power. So your power ports are represented by this little red power symbol here. Some printers also have a logic port that's used for like automation and reading statuses from the printer. Other devices have both of these on a single port. Okay, but for now we just need to get some power. Power in the game is primarily transferred using cables, which we start with. So I'm going to grab my cables, and you place each individual cable like so. So when you're placing, you can scroll to go through all the different variants of the cable. But for now, we're going to just go with the straight. And I'm going to run this cable all the way over here. Whoops, I missed that one. To this wall. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a corner and I'm going to bring that up. So what we need to do is we need to have some kind of power generation and power storage. So obviously our devices need power. We go back to our lander. We have a electrical supplies box in here, and I'm going to just put some of my stuff away in here because I don't need to be clogging my inventory up. We have a couple of batteries which we're going to take. We have a battery charger. We have a solar panel, and we have an APC or area power controller. We also have some additional cables should we need them. Last but not least, we have the solid generator. Don't worry about that one for now. We're not going to worry too much about that package. Take the solid generator. So, to start with, your main form of power generation is going to be solar panel. Now, we're going to wait for the sun to rise and then we'll determine which way we're going to face it. But the APC is what we're going to place next. And I'm going to place it on the wall here. And as you can see, you have an arrow going in and an arrow coming out. That is your power throughput. So as it stands, the power would be coming in from the bottom and going out of the top. Not what we want. I'm going to rotate the APC using C. And we're going to bring it down a little bit. Oh no, we'll put it there so it's at eye height. And we're going to hold left click to place it. We're then going to get some cables and we're just going to wire into both sides of that. And we're going to run that cable up there. The area power controller, its main purpose is to provide backup power to a network. If I open it with the crowbar in my hand, we can open it, and as you can see, we have a power lever or a master lever, and we have a slot for a battery. I can turn that lever on, and we can drag a battery into there. Okay, you can see there it's red. The red light means nothing's coming in, nothing's going out. This isn't turned on. If I turn this on, it will flash blue and red. Blue and red means you are using power, but you aren't gaining enough power to replace the used power. Okay. Obviously, we've got no power generation, so all we're doing is using, not gaining. Another purpose to the APC is to split your network. So we've got a network on the output, a network on the input. Those two networks are not the same. Okay. Later on, you cannot read from one right to the other easily, or just connect whatever. Important note, do not connect this cable to this cable. Okay, that would create a loop which will cause your cables to burn out. Your input should always be split from your output. No questions asked. There are certain ways in which you may connect them in a roundabout fashion for logic, but for power they should never ever meet. Now I'm going to run this cable up to the roof. Oh, and I'm going to use my jetpack. By default, the button for your jetpack is J, but I've got mine changed to my mouse button. If you want to change it, go into settings, go into controls, and you've got all of your buttons in here. And yeah, in here you'll find jetpack somewhere. I don't know where. Oh, it's there, look. I've got mine set to my mouse button 4. By default, I'm pretty sure that's J. But I'm going to run this cable up to the ceiling. Or the roof, I guess, what it's called up here. So we need to feed this with power. Now, there's the sun. Obviously, that big ball of fire in the sky. I'm going to get my solar panel. I'm going to right click. And as you can see, we have the flat variant. And if I scroll, we get the angled variant. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flat variant And we're just going to place it here. Yeah, we'll place it there. I just want to change my cable, so I'm going to grab that. I'm going to get my wire cutters and remove it. And then we're going to rotate the cable and we're going to bring it to that power connection on the solar panel. Now that solar panel isn't finished. If we look at it with a tool, you can see we need glass sheets to continue construction. So let's turn our light off. Nope, let's turn our light on. Get our glass sheets and go and finish the solar panel. There we go. If I look at it, well, if I just look at it, you can now see it's generating 87 watts and it's increasing. The efficiency is how in line the sun is to the panel. So if the sun was directly overhead, it would be 100. Else it kind of over there, apparently we're getting 21%. If you got to this point, well done. You've got power generation feeding into your APC, which is fully charged, and our battery is fully charged. I'm going to swap that battery. Okay? You can just swap between items in the world and items in your inventory or suit just by holding Alt and just dragging. The reason I've done that is because that battery was full, which means we're wasting daylight. So it's always worth swapping out your batteries, making sure that you have the most charged battery here and allow the sun to charge up a battery in there. So we've got power, we've got a printer. I need to get my furnace connected up. So I'm going to grab my cable. I'm going to go look at the furnace. The power connection is here. So I'm going to bring the cable out. And we're going to bring this cable across. Now remember, this furnace is connected to the output of our APC because that's where our power is being used. That's where we're connecting it. I bring the cable to this and try and place this. I can't. Okay? Because there's already a cable there. If you want to splice a cable, get your wire cutters in your other hand and then you can place the cable. As you can see, it'll all connect to one another. Job done. So we have furnace, we have power, we have printer. But I can't make anything in the printer because I don't have any resources. So I'm going to get my mining belt and we're going to go out for a bit of a mine session. So turn my light off. The 3 ingots you should get, okay, the bare minimum is iron, gold and copper. And you're just going to have to go out looking for them. There is ore everywhere. Most of it you don't need. I've just seen gold over there. But yeah, primarily most devices need iron, gold and copper, or 1 or 2 of them, or all 3. So gold is this. As you can see, quite clearly gold. We're just going to turn on the drill using right click. And then we're going to just point and left click until we get enough gold. Now, there are clever people out there who will tell you exactly what you need to get the bare minimum required to build whatever you need to. But I'm not going to go into that level of detail, okay? For me, it's not fun if I have to come out here and, oh, I need to find exactly 22 gold and 14 iron and whatever the numbers are. That's just not how I like to play. I just wing it. Just go out there and just enjoy a bit of mining. It looks like I'm going to get about a stack of gold, which should be alright, I think. And it looks like we've also come across some iron. So as you can see, iron and some more gold. Iron is kind of like this brown colour. Iron you will use pretty much more than any other ore. So I would always say you haven't got enough iron until you get to the point where you don't need to build anything. Okay, if you've still got stuff to do and you've got no iron, go and sort it. Simple as that. I'm just going to get out this hole because I think there was some more iron over here. Yes, so we're going to grab this and I'm hoping for a few stacks of iron, to be honest, just to make sure I have enough just to get started. And it looks like we're going to easily get that. Oh, and we've found copper as well. Fantastic. Copper is kind of like this green one with like orange veins running through it. it's an ore that you're going to use quite a lot of, but you'll also find that it's the one ore you're probably going to have plenty of, because you come across it all the time. But I'm just going to grab as much of this as possible, and we should be set to head back and start printing off some items. At the time of me recording this, there is an update coming out at some point soon. It's going to be the terrain update, and it may change the way mining works. You may find less ore in places, more ore in other places. Just bear that in mind. The concept of mining is the same. You need ore, go out and mine it. But how you find it may take you a little longer when that update comes out. But now that I've got my essential ores, let's head back to base. Oh, there's some more copper here. Let's grab that as well. We've got a great big hole next. We're going to have to fill that in at some point. But we want to process this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my gold. And I'm just going to do the stack of 12. So I'm going to drag it into my furnace. You don't have to drag, by the way. Like, you can if you have it in your hand, you can just left click. But I just get used to dragging. It's just how I play. Turn it on. Hit the activate button. That will start processing the gold. Okay. Gold takes the longest to smelt, so we will be waiting around for a little while. In the meantime, let's start getting a frame built ready for our airlock. We're not going to go through it yet because I don't want to overwhelm you going from like one thing to the next thing. All you need to do for the airlock, and this is just how we're going to do it for the tutorial, but there are other ways you can do it, is I'm going to place a frame at the bottom, to the left, at the top, and to the right. Okay, that will be our airlock. I'm going to want to weld those. So grab your iron sheets, grab your welder, and weld those frames completely. There we go. That is just going to be where we have our airlock. It's going to be a couple of doors and a system that allows us to go in and come out without losing our atmosphere inside. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We're not anywhere near that yet, but we're just preparing for it. So, one thing that we picked up earlier. Oh, our gold is done. So as you can see, once it's finished, it spits out the ingot. It just lands wherever it lands. We've got our gold, so let's get some iron smelted. So we're going to chuck it in there. We're going to press that button. What you'll notice from in here is that our APC is flashing red and blue. Because we've got no sun, we are now just solely using power. We're not gaining power. And don't forget, we have a spare battery, so we may have to swap to that later. But yeah, we need to try and sort power out as soon as we can, really, so we're not struggling. But before we can do power, we need to make other printers. So the Autolathe is the starter printer, but we also need another couple of printers. One is called the electronics printer, one is called the pipe bender. Whilst we're waiting for stuff to smelt, let's mention something called the Stationpedia. In game, press F1. In the top right corner, click on the pause button. Okay, that will pause the game in the background, so the day cycle is paused, we're not printing anything. It just gives you time to look through this. This is your in-game wiki. It will run through all of the devices in game. It is mostly accurate. There will be the odd little thing in here that's incorrect, but as time goes on, you'll learn what everything is, and you'll need this less and less. But in here, we can find information on the ores, the printers, the different kind of gases, foods, tools, everything is in here. If you're unsure about what something is or what something does, just search through here. Or if you don't know what to do next, just have a look at like what's available and then go, oh, what is that? Let's have a play. So if I went to structure kits, these are like all the different devices that you can build, all part of a kit. They may have more than one construction level. But for example, we've got whatever a kit Larry is. You're new to the game, you don't know what this is. Well, click on it, and you can see this is the kit Larry. We can see it's made in the electronics printer, and we can see that actually once it's constructed, it turns the Larry dock. If I click on that, I get information on the Larry dock. So the game has links to different parts, that everything that would work with it, and it's definitely worth a read in here at some point. If you're unsure, check the Stationpedia. If it's not in there, it doesn't make sense, check the Stationeers wiki or check Discord. There are people everywhere that's going to be able to help you, or will be happy to help you. I mean, if you want to, join Panic and Die Discord, where we have a small community of people who play Stationeers, and they're all more than happy to help. A lot of them are pretty techy, pretty knowledgeable when it comes to this game, so they'll be able to help you one way or another. So I got my iron ingot, so I'm going to place it in my printer, and now we're waiting for some copper. Once the copper is smelted, we'll be able to move on to our first printer. Now, if I point at the button there, I can see that there's 24 remain to be processed, 23, 22. I need 10 for the first thing I want to build. So I put 13 here, so I'm going to press that button. It stops processing and kicks out whatever finished. So I've got my 10. And now we can just kick it back in. So we'll get that going, and let's just do the next load of copper. We're going to go over to our printer, we're going to put it in. So, as I said, we've got the Autolathe. The Autolathe is used for manufacturing your basic stuff. So, lockers, frames, sheets, and also other printers. So if we turn it on, click on the little search button, you've got a long list of everything that this thing can print. But what we're looking for is the electronics printer. There it is. And you can see it needs 50 iron, 2 gold, and 10 copper, which we have. So I'm going to select it, and then going to press the green button. And that will start printing. Now, depending on what you're making, depends on the length of time it will take to print. The electronic printer takes a little while. You're probably looking at about 1.5 minutes-ish for it to print that, maybe a little bit longer. But once it's done, it will open up additional things for us to print. Whilst this is doing this, we need to be very mindful of our power. If we look at the battery, we're on 44%, okay? Not great. And because it's night time, it's flashing red and blue because we aren't gaining any power. The electronics printer will open up the ability for us to get into wind power. Okay, we'll be able to make some wind turbines that will generate power during the night. They aren't that efficient on Mars because the pressure on Mars is quite low. But when we get to day 7, from then we have a chance for a storm to hit. And a storm will generate you plenty of power as long as you have wind turbines up and running. So that's what we're going to try and aim for here. I'm just going to nip back outside. How's this guy getting on? He's got 10 more. So once he's done, we'll chuck some iron in there. We want to try and keep on top of our resources. Now you'll have to excuse the video because I'm making a point, like I said, not to edit it. So I'm not going to just cut out and go to another piece. I am going to show you every little thing that I do. Just so you know that you're not missing out on anything. I'm not hiding anything. What I do is how I play. This furnace is about to finish. There we go. So we'll chuck in some iron, activate it, pick up that copper. You can automate things later, so this will not be how we smelt ores forever. But for now, it is what it is. As we can see, we've got the electronics printer. Boom. So we're going to place this next to the Autolathe. Now, again, I know what's required to make this. But if you're unsure, just look at it with something in your hand. And you can see that to start with, I need the welding torch and the iron sheets. So we're going to grab that, weld it, turn off the welder. We're going to get cables, put cables in there. I now know that I need plastic sheets. And our power, as you can see, 23%, not great. So make sure you turn off your printers when you're not using them, because it will just save you a little bit of power. So I should have some plastic sheets somewhere. Yep, there we go. Let's grab them. I'm going to turn off the furnace for now because we've got some more iron. We're not going to need to worry about that right this second. Chuck you in there. Let's get this welded. Last but not least, we're going to need the screwdriver. And there we go. We have our electronics printer. I'm just going to chuck these on the floor. We'll need them later. Items do not despawn on this game. So feel free to chuck things on the floor so you know where they are later. It's called floor storage or floorage. The wife hates it, but it works for me. I'm more than happy with it. So our first concern is going to be power. Now there is another printer to make, but we're not going to do that yet. What I want is I want these ingots out of here. So I'm going to hit this lever, turn on the printer, and it will spit out my ingots. Close the lever, turn it off, and put these ingots into the other printer. And now what I want to do is get this cabled in because it's not going to work without power. We're doing for power 22%. We should be able to get a turbine or two. Turn it on and search for wind. There we go. I got wind. Click on that and we're going to print that out. Now, assuming my power holds out, we should be able to get 2 wind turbines. And these are a low to no maintenance power generation. They don't generate the same amount of power constantly. It's very up and down. But it's a constant flow of power coming into our base, which is what we want. We need something more stable than our solar panel. We can make more solar panels, and later on we could also do solar tracking. But let's not rush to that. Let's just take it easy. Let's go down the really easy route first and just go for wind. And these don't take long, to be fair. It takes longer to print the printer than it does the items in the printer. While we're in here, I'm just going to chuck some of this stuff on the floor. I don't need it right now. Just do me a favor. Remember that it's there, so when I go looking for it, just tell me, yeah? Right, we're about to have our first wind turbine. So let's go and plug this in. So we're going to go up to where our solar panel is. And we're going to plug in our turbine up here. So I'm going to place it there. I'm going to get my wire cutters and we're going to plug that in. There we go. We're now producing energy from the wind turbine. Now, if we look in here, we're still using power quicker than we're making it. But I would hope that we're making power more than what we were before. Well, we will be because we've got a wind turbine up there now. My hope is that we'll get this next wind turbine before we run out of power. We're on 8%. Hopefully we will. I think we will. I think we're going to be fine. This is already 80% complete. So yeah, we're good. We're good. Come on. I think the sun's going to be rising shortly anyway. So we'll start getting some solar power as well. There we go. We've got our second wind turbine. Again, turn the printer off. And as you can see now, look, we are producing power. It's going blue and green. Our printers aren't working. Our furnace is off. Our turbine is generating power. So let's go back up here. And let's plug in a second turbine. And then same again. We're going to get our cable. And we're going to get this put in. Like so. We now have 2 turbines and 1 solar power. 1 solar panel, sorry. And we are starting to produce power. So it's going to go up slowly, but it's going to go up. Now, what I would like to do is make a couple more wind turbines because for a new player, it's a cheap and easy way to generate power that you need. With enough wind turbines, you don't really need to worry about anything else. As you can see, even with the furnace on, we're still producing power. So that's good. We're in the green at the moment. With a few more wind turbines, we'll always be in the green. So that's currently what we have at the moment. The next or last thing that I want to do is I want to make the next printer. Now I need some of the gold from the furnace. So let's grab what we can. And let's go and make the pipe bender. So this is done in the Autolathe, so I need my ingots from my electronics printer. Let's chuck them in there. And make me my pipe bender. So again, it's going to take a little while, and as you can see now, we're about to run out of power. So let's quickly get this battery and swap it. Okay. If you run out of power, your printers will stop and you will have to start the whole construction item again. So if you can, try and swap out the battery before you run out. So you can see now I've got a battery on 1%, which ain't going to do as much good. But once we've got some more turbines up, we will be able to charge the batteries. This pipe bender is going, and I don't want to print more than one of these off. So if you're ever printing something that's going to take a while, start it going, and then just press one of the yellow arrows. It doesn't matter which one you press, but you just want to change it to something other than the item that you're printing. Because what will happen is the printer will finish its print, and then it will stop ready for you to activate the next thing. Which means we're not going to end up with two pipe benders. We're just going to end up with one, and the printer will go into an idle state. So, speaking of power, we start with a solid generator. Now what this does is it will take in coal and just produce power. Nice and easy. Let's go and put this up here as a backup should we need it. I'm going to place it here. I'm going to rotate it. We're going to put it there. We're then going to get our cable. And we're going to find the port, which is here in the middle. We're going to just connect that to the red cable we've got there, because that's the cable that we are feeding into our APC. So we're going to do this like so. There we go. So if we end up falling on our arse and we have no power, we can very simply just put some coal in there, and that will produce power for us. Now there is a whole thing when it comes to power. Like, there's only so much power that you can run through your cable and all that kind of thing. I'm not going to cover that here. All we're doing is very basic setup on what you need to be doing at the start of the game. Obviously, you don't have to follow exactly what I'm saying to a T, but this will just get you in the right direction. If you want to know more about power, then I will put a thing up here, potentially, like a link to another video, where I did a power tutorial with my wife, and I was showing her the basics of power. So go and check that out, and hopefully that will help you a little bit. Our pipe bender is almost done. So I'm going to go get the stuff that we need to make that, which is going to be iron sheets, plastic sheets, and we're going to need some more cables, because I've got 5 on me, but that's not going to be enough. Well, it will be enough for the printer, but we're going to need to also wire it in. So let's go back inside. Our pipe bender is done. As you can see, the printer stopped. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to place the pipe bender here. And it's basically the same construction line that the electronics printer and the Autolathe were. It's iron sheets and a welder, followed by cable, followed by the welding torch and plastic sheets, and then finishing it off with the screwdriver. And then we use our cable to get this guy connected. Because it's red, make sure you get your wire cutters in your other hand. And there we go. We now have the pipe bender, and that finishes off the start of this tutorial series, because this is what you want to be aiming for right off the bat. You want to get a kind of a power source going, and as you can see, it's blue and green, so we're gaining power. You want to make all 3 of the basic printers, and then we also have a furnace out here, which is just producing our ingots for us from our ore, and it's about to finish the gold, so we'll get it going to do some more iron. So, hopefully this was of some help, just a way of how to get started. Next time what we're going to do is we're going to scale up our power. So we'll probably put some more turbines in there just to keep us going. And then we're going to talk about maybe sorting out some power management, because these cables won't last forever. We need something else a bit more robust. We also need to do some preparation for the storm, so we'll work on that. And then we'll see if we can get an airlock made and start making this base a little bit more habitable. That probably won't be in the next one. That'll probably be in like the one after that or the one after that. But yeah, hopefully this video helped. I don't want it to come across as condescending. I'm really trying my best to explain the game in a way that I wish someone had explained it to me. There's a lot of clever people out there, and I think they're all very knowledgeable. Absolutely, they know their stuff. They could do what I've done here in about 10 minutes, I have no doubt. But I think for new players, the game really needs to be dumbed down, because I know that I really struggled with this game when I first started. I would have loved for somebody to have told it me in a way that someone as simple as me understands. Not that I'm calling you simple, I just know that the game can be quite full on, and if you don't know what you're doing, you might just stop playing before you've even really got into the good stuff. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care, and enjoy playing Stationeers. Bye!